We're going to take you through the 7-day. I'm going to take you through the 7-day, even though I tried to get Jeff to do it. All right. Well, we are finding that, all in all, things are going to be fairly quiet in many spots in the days to come. As we look to today, we're watching areas like Florida watch some action, a lot of energy that's left over from that system that dumped across Colorado, with some snowfall coming in across parts of the west. But again, not a real big deal anywhere. We're finding that the temperatures, they are still in many cases running above average. As we look down the line going into tomorrow, we've got rain that is going to be pushing on shore in California. You'll also find snow in some of the higher elevations. Middle of the country, while we're watching for rain and snow, you're going to find this is not a real big deal. It's going to be very light. I call it nuisance variety when it comes to the snow and the rain. And as far as the temperatures go, it's going to be quiet in the east, beautiful weather. You can see still very mild conditions. Now, as we continue into Wednesday, we will find still that system sliding across the country. But again, this is going to be real light when it comes to snow or rain, kind of, on and off, but really light stuff. And some of that California energy actually is going to start to ride here into California and then swing down across parts of Texas. And so the jet stream, the southern jet stream, is remaining fairly active. And that's actually good news. California, you need the rain. You need the rain in Texas. And also at times it's going to eventually swing more of that into Florida. And that's another place where we need some of the rainfall. So we're going to hit some of those areas where we have been hit by drought this year. As we look to Thursday, again, you can watch Texas and Florida for some of the wet weather. It's out of California by now. And then we'll continue on Friday to see more of this with that very active jet stream to the south. But elsewhere, there's not a whole lot happening. We will watch another system starting to push into the Pacific Northwest. That's going to bring some rain. And we'll also watch here some areas with a little bit of lake effect snow as we look toward the northeast. And you're going to find a little bit more of that here up across the upper Midwest as we work our way into Sunday. But so some things to watch, Jeff, but nothing that's real huge. Pictures, and this is going to be maybe a good week to get out and just take pictures of some of the landscapes. Not a whole lot of weather to get in your way. And as we lead into the weekend, we're going to find that as well is fairly quiet. We have exceptions, Florida, and we need the rain in Florida. So watch for some of this hit and miss action. We'll find much of the country very quiet, but we will watch a new western system that is riding in. And as far as some of the temperatures go, well, you're going to find that temperatures here are really in general average or above average. So we don't have any real cold air by the time we hit the weekend. As we look toward a Sunday, again, watching that western system move in. Otherwise, much of the rest of the country is fairly quiet, and temperatures, again, nothing that's real cold in Alaska this season. When you look to the west, and we actually have fairly quiet conditions that we are following, not a whole lot of action, but things will become more active. We're watching an upper level low. It's going to continue to spin in here to California. With that, sending in a lot of that moisture, and we'll find areas of rain, snow coming into the higher elevations, and we'll be following this Tuesday into Tuesday night, still even into Wednesday. We've got Southern California picking up some rain and some areas still picking up some snowfall, and it will continue to slide here across the south, and eventually you'll see more of this moisture moving into areas like Texas and also eventually into Florida. In the meantime, also watching a system that is right around Colorado, and we're going to find some of this energy riding into the midsection of the country as we go into our Tuesday and Wednesday, I should say. And with this, we'll find areas of snow and also rain, but this is going to be real light stuff. This is what I call nuisance rain and nuisance snow. You might need a broom to kind of dust away some of that snow, but that's about it. And as far as your windshield wipers, I'll probably be in the lighter end. As we look toward Tuesday night, still watching areas, but again, it's going to continue to be very light, and it will be sliding eastward as we move into our Wednesday. But again, we're talking about very light in terms of any of the snowfall and the rain coming in. Now, as far as that first system goes that is moving into California, I'm going to step out of the way so you can see this, but we really need that rain because, as you can see, we are in a drought, a moderate drought, 57% of the state, and that is an increase since earlier in the month. Jeff? It's 10 after the hour, time for our big picture, and we are finding a few things that we're following, and not as active though as what we were watching, especially toward the end of last week. But remember that storm that just dumped all of that snow in Denver, across Colorado, Nebraska. Well, we still have a little bit of leftover energy. We're going to follow this as it works its way across the country with some light activity with snow and rain. And then also you can see that dip in the jet stream that is offshore. We're going to watch a system that is pushing into California, and that is going to bring some rain in. So folks, they're just waiting for that to move in. And we're also going to continue to watch some of the stormy conditions that we have been following here. Some of this working its way into Florida as we continue to go through the week. We're going to follow some very, very light snow that moves across the middle of the country and light rainfall. Not a real big deal for us. And we'll continue to watch that system that brings all that rain into California, eventually slides across the southwest and eventually sliding across southern Texas. But let's focus in. Right, we don't have any real active weather, but we will follow some things as we take you down the line. So first of all, a look at today. And again, Jeff talked about some of the wet weather. We've also talked about this system across Colorado. It's going to bring some snow and move it across the country, but most areas it'll be very light. As far as the temperatures go, we still are looking at many of you on the mild side, especially for February. I remember growing up in Minnesota, and February was always so cold. So this year it's definitely a different story for most folks in the country. Alaska, though, they're hanging on to that cold. They've been just bitter. As we look to tomorrow, then we see that system riding from Colorado, spreading some light snowfall and some light rainfall in the southern end of this and sliding it eastward. And then we're also finding a more potent system that is pushing onshore in the west. It's going to bring rain, and with that, you're going to find some very strong winds. Ultimately, that'll slide southward across the country. In the meantime, as you can see, still very mild across the south, with many of you in the 60s. We'll find that system sliding eastward, bringing some of the snow with it. I like to call this nuisance because I think that's all it's going to be, is a nuisance. It really won't slow you down too much, but you might have to do a little bit of a sweeping with your broom to get rid of the dusting of snow in some places. As far as the temperatures, gradually we will see some of the numbers coming down, but again, certainly it could be much colder than this as we work through February. In other years, it certainly has. And you look at that wet weather. Now, this is, again, some of the wet weather that, we've been following here out of California. It slides down across Texas. Both California and Texas need the rain. It's beneficial rain, some of it, too, sliding into Florida. But otherwise, we don't have a whole lot that is happening across the country in the days to come. Things, all in all, are fairly quiet. And as we go toward next weekend, again, we're watching a few places. Rain here in Florida, for example. A little bit of lake effect snow here across the north, and another system riding in the west. But all in all, much of the weekend will be very quiet for many. And you can see a similar scenario as we work into our Sunday, although we will watch here in the Pacific Northwest more of that spreading into the interior. Back here with our weekend forecast. What can you expect? Well, a lot of you will find very quiet weather conditions. We do have some exceptions. We'll continue to watch parts of South Texas and South Florida. This is Saturday with some wet weather. You can see, though, a big chunk of the country very nice. Watch both Saturday and Sunday, a system that is moving into the Pacific Northwest. As far as the temperatures go, again, we're not finding any real cold air. As we look towards Chicago, you're going to find that, and along with Minneapolis, your temperatures on Saturday a little bit below average, but, not terribly uncomfortable for February. And as we look towards Sunday, again, as I said, we'll watch the system pushing in, but otherwise much of the country is going to remain fairly quiet, and some warmth builds here across the plains. Jeff? Yeah, well, let's look. You might need your magnifying glass because we don't have a whole lot that's happening. You might find a couple of spits or sprinkles here or there, but not a big deal. But we are watching because we're going to find some energy that is moving out here from the Pacific. It's going to be continuing to push into California, and with that, we're going to find rain developing, snow too, in some of the higher elevations. Along with this too, it's going to become very windy, so expect that as we go into our Tuesday. And as we continue through time, we're going to find that it'll slide a bit more here to the south as we go through Tuesday night and into Wednesday. And note here, some of that rain, again, will be hitting some parts of the southwest, and eventually it's going to slide across Texas. Also watching some energy, and we've got something trying to develop there across Colorado. That is going to going to continue to slide eastward. You know, some of this energy is actually left over from that system that dropped all of that snow last week, but it will be sliding eastward, this little bit of it. Not much punch, though. This is going to be really light. We're going to find that you might need your broom to sweep away some of the snow. You probably can dash around without an umbrella. That's going to continue as we go from Tuesday into Tuesday night. Notice how it slides eastward. It's actually a fairly fast mover, and it'll continue on Wednesday to slide here closer to the coast. So again, this is more the nuisance variety than anything else. And just a quick check, too. We were just talking about California and some of the wet weather coming in. I wanted to mention, too, that here in California, you'll need some of the rain. You do need it because it's 10 after the hour, and if you're curious what's happening across the country, we're looking at the big picture. And, you know, while we are finding areas where the weather will be active and is active, nothing like what we saw, especially toward the end of last week. But, you know, last week we had that huge snowstorm that erupted across the west, slid into the plains. We actually have still a little bit of leftover energy from that here across portions of Colorado. We're going to watch that in the days to come. It'll slide eastward, not bringing with it a whole lot of activity, but you'll find some areas of light rain and light snow, so we're watching this continuing to develop. Also, we're going to see this storm system approaching the west coast. It's going to bring some rain, and we're also going to find that while we have some rain here across Florida, you'll see that it's going to settle down a bit as we go through time. So let's break it down for Los Angeles. Now, this is our focus forecast city, and you have quiet weather right now. You can see temperatures here in the mid-60s, and, you know, you are hanging on to clouds in some areas, although some places also have some sun coming through. Here's a look at some of those current stats for us. 66 here at LA at that station, and we'll find that as this front approaches, you'll see increasing clouds. You're going to find ultimately the wet weather coming in, plus the winds are going to pick up, so it's going to be a blustery go. You'll see snow in the higher elevations. Here in LA, you can note that Tuesday it's going to be a wet go, so keep this in mind. And no, traffic's a mess already. Add to that some rain, and you can bet it's going to really make that commute a long one tomorrow. So you might want to plan ahead. If it's somewhere where you work, where you can stay home and work from home, might be a good idea to do it. As we look down the line, you'll find drier air coming in, and we've got a fairly nice weekend in store for us. Jeff, a look here as we look to the 7-day forecast. Starting out, of course, the work week for many of you, whether that means work at an office or work just trying to get stuff done around the house while the kids are at school. And we'll note here that much of the country for today is going to be quiet as far as the weather goes. We're watching, you know, a little bit of action in Texas. We're going to watch Florida. And then tomorrow we will watch a system pushing on shore in California. Temperature-wise, you know, there's no real cold air around. Once again, you can see a big chunk of the country. The east is still running above average. Tomorrow we will watch some energy riding into the center of the country. With this, we'll see some areas of snow and some areas of rain on the southern end, but this is really light stuff. Not going to be a big deal for you. As we look to the east, it's very quiet. California, that's a bigger deal, but it's actually beneficial rain coming in. But as you know, those of you that live in around some of these areas like Los Angeles, it's going to be a mess out there on the roads. So do plan ahead. You might need to give yourself a lot of extra time as you plan your day out. Now, as far as Wednesday goes, we're going to find that snowy weather sliding eastward. Again, really light stuff, not going to be a big deal for us, but we'll see some of those flakes floating down. Otherwise, we watch the west, and we're going to continue to find some of that rain from California sliding down here across portions of New Mexico. We're going to eventually find some of that continuing to swing here across Texas, and we'll be watching some of this as well as it works its way here across Florida. So we're going to see it from California heading toward Arizona, the New Mexico, and then right on into Texas. So we'll see some of that as we work our way into Thursday. There's that wet weather as we see a pretty active southern jet. That's where we'll see the activity, but you can see not a whole lot going on north of there. We'll find some snow coming in on Friday here, a little bit of lake effect snow through here. Texas, you're going to get some more needed rain. Again, it's great to see it coming in Texas. Florida, you need the rain too, so not too many complaints. As we look to the west on Saturday, we'll watch a system driving in, and that system will continue to spread inland as we work into Sunday, Jeff.